Hey everybody, Tim and Jordan here for this week's Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 1, Episode 5, Cupid's Errant Arrow. Right off the bat, what'd you think?
Overall, it was a pretty good episode, but I didn't really like the vibe of it. Just kind of felt like it was like I don't want to say a filler episode, but it was like, they had the main plot, but then it was just like a lot of the characters like doing all their little side missions, and it was just, I don't know. I just didn't like the vibe of it, but overall, it was still a good episode.
Which, coincidentally, I think this might be my favorite episode so far. I loved it. I thought it was great. So a ton of references. So, like, it was hard to keep track of all the references. The first one that I loved was the ship that they helped was the Vancouver.
Yeah.
Which is where we live, is Vancouver. So I was like, oh, look, that's us. I mean, realistically, it's probably more of a reference to Canada, Vancouver. Because nobody gives a fuck about, like, the Washington area.
Yeah.
But whatever. The whole plot is a moon is about to collide with a planet, and the captain, Freeman, has to, like, basically make a treaty, because if we stop the moon, then these people suffer. But if we help those people, then these people suffer, and it's this big
like,
political...
if we blow up the moon, then, like, this pollution goes into this moon, so...
It ends up just being this big political debate. I was like, who cares? We finally meet Boimler's girlfriend, and I love the whole thing of, like, does he really have a girlfriend? Is she like, it reminded me of Avenue Q, my girlfriend who lives in Canada. So
and they're going to Vancouver,
and they're that has to be a reference. I didn't even get that until just now. No, her name is Alberta. She lives in Vancouver. She cooks like my mother and sucks like a Hoover. So, anyways, I love Avenue Q so much. I should have worn that shirt. But, you know, that's a good reference. Didn't even get that one. So, that was good. One of the big shout-out, hopped up like Q on Picard Day. I loved that. When Mariner finally meets Barbara, also known as Barb.
Yeah.
The first thing she does is, like, computer in program, which is a long ongoing joke of, like, you know, this is a bad day. Are we sure we're not in the holodeck?
No, right.
Especially in 2020. That's a big meme going on right now. Like, every day I wake up and say computer end program.
No.
Because it's that weird, like, maybe this can't be real. Like, there's no way this is real. What I loved, so again, as two people who have worked in retail for long enough to see things change, when Tendi and Rutherford go to the Vancouver, and they're like, look, we have the new T-88s, the new tricorders.
No.
And she just fucking slaps him.
Yes.
And she's like, is this a dream?
Yeah, sorry about that.
I remember them, like, getting rid of, like, the Telzons and going to, like, MC40s, which now it's like, it's TC70s, but, like, to get those little upgrades. Which, then again, you think about, like, the replicators and stuff, like, why can't they just make their own, like, T-88s?
Well, maybe the replicators aren't, like, advanced enough to make them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like a program, since, like, the newer model isn't in the old program, they can't make it. I don't know.
That's actually a pretty good reasoning.
Yeah.
You got more out of this than I did. Like, I just sat back and was like, oh my god, look, he has a girlfriend. Like, you actually got a lot more out of it. But, like, that whole thing where she just fucking slaps the guy.
That was pretty good.
And I was like, you know, the first time I saw a TC7 or an MC40, and I was like, oh my god. It's like that time when somebody, like, get rid of your rotary phone. Look, it's a touch dial.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like that. So, I loved it. It was great. The flashback scene where Mariner's talking about, like, when there was the changeling... Loved it. You see them in the gray uniforms.
Oh, yep.
And when they bring up, like, Data has a brother that's helping the Borg, that is a specific reference to the Descent two-parter between the end of Season 6 and the beginning of Season 7 of The Next Generation. Like, that is a very finite, specific reference.
Okay, interesting.
The return of Hugh and everything. So I love that. And they're like, oh, what's going on with the Enterprise? It's always something new going on with them every week. because it's a weekly show. So I loved it. It was little jokes like that I really, really liked. And then her hair almost looked like Deanna Troi, like in season 1, where she has like the huge 80s hair.
Right.
But then again, like this show takes place shortly after Nemesis. So for it to be the end of the Next Generation, 2002, like that's like 10 years ago. So realistically, her flashback, unless Mariner's like 30.
And they haven't really established how old they are on the show.
True.
So, and I mean, her mom does look on the older side. So.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
But
like in that flashback,
mom, she's stressed out too.
Yeah, right. Like in that flashback, unless she's like 21 and then she's like 31 in this show. Like, but then again, like that's me being the nitpicky.
Right.
It's a great flashback. It's a great reference. I loved it. But like, it's one of those you're like, is that accurate? Like, what is that? Something that caught me off guard again for the nerd references. Like I said, this whole episode was overwhelming with references. Because she's trying to figure out all the different ways that Barbara is not human. Like, is she a hologram? Is she a changeling? Is she this? She actually brings up the Suliban, which is a reference to Enterprise. Okay. Nobody gives a fuck about Enterprise. Nobody likes Enterprise. I love the theme song of Enterprise. I played the theme song of Enterprise at our wedding. I don't think he realized that, but it's okay. Because I loved it. It was the extended version, too. Love that song. But the Suliban was a race created just for that series. So for them to reference it is pretty substantial. Like, it was a really good shout out from me. I loved it. Could be wrong. I'm not sure. But the very first trailer that came out had a bunch of the references, like the space shield and the phaser that was set to stun. It was set to stun. Yeah. Seeing him naked on the shuttle, I think, is like the last reference to the trailer. Oh. Because when they make a trailer, you only have so many episodes.
Right.
Like, if you think about Golden Girls, like, even though it's the same opening sequence for all 7 seasons, that opening sequence, which is all the clips, is only like the first 8 or 9 episodes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because that's about how much they had filmed before it started airing.
Right.
I think this is about the last of it, if not a little bit more. So I think after this, we're into new territory. Okay. Because, like, from the first episode that we watched, like, you can ask it, my favorite part of the trailer was the blast shield. Because it goes up and it comes down.
Every day until we finally...
And it was great, yeah. But that specific clip isn't until like episode like 3 or 4.
Right.
So I think like him because in the trailer it's him where he's like naked in the shuttle, which I loved. Like, honest to God, like, I mean, I don't think anybody watches this. I don't think anybody cares. But we would probably have sex on a shuttle.
Okay.
I don't know, like. If we were both in Starfleet, like, serving on the same crew, or at least the same ship.
Oh, God, yeah. There's
like, every floor. I feel like that would be a goal. Like, that would be the bucket list goal. Like, could we have sex on, like, I think there's, like, 48, like, I think the Enterprise has, like, 48 decks. But, like, the fact that he's just on the shuttle, and he's like, set the captain's log to sexy, or whatever. And I was like, wow. But... then again, like, I was like, no, that might be a thing, but I don't know. Like, granted, I'm the nerd one of the group. Is that not something you don't think about where you would have sex on a spaceship if you could?
I mean,
I guess I'm alone in that one.
I never really thought I would take a job where I'd be in a spaceship, so I never really thought about it.
Yeah, that's the best part.
But I mean,
why do you think I keep buying these outfits?
But I mean, at the same time, like, if you and I worked at the same place and they were like, oh, hey, you two need to go down and do this. No, I'm going to go down and do something, all right?
You two need to go down in engineering where you'll be alone for a long time and nobody's going to check on you.
Darn.
Okay. So, yeah. Them being in their little shuttle thing. So, one of the big inconsistencies with Star Trek that they have since tried to... I'm just fucking segue out of the sex talk. That they have since tried to, like, redo, retcon, whatever, goes back to Star Trek 4, That's the one where they go to San Francisco in the
Okay.
80s. You gotta break it down for him. Where Kirk is like, we don't have money. And then since then, like, anytime they do Star Trek, you can see the writers be like, how the fuck do we write this? Like, why would they put that in that movie? Because then they created gold pressed latinum and all sorts of other stuff on, like, we need money. Like, how you cannot survive as a society without money. Why would they do that? So they have kind of retconned, and even in First Contact, there's the line where the girl's talking to Picard, and she's like, how did you afford this? And Picard's like, we don't use money the way you think of it. I was like, that's a nice save. Like, that's really good. And Picard says, like, we don't spend time to, like, earn money. We spend time to better ourselves. And I'm like, damn. Like, that's good. Like, that is a good way to, like, done. I had a whole train that I just lost. Were they talking about money at some point in the series?
Yes, you literally just
Oh, yeah, I got it. So the whole point of, like, the moon thing, and they're like, how are you going to change both of us? And Captain Freeman is like,
both?
What? And he's like, oh yeah, it's just me and my wife. We own the planet. We're rich.
There's
what?
two fucking people
like,
on this fucking planet that you want us to fucking save?
Yeah.
I was like, damn. She was like, blow up the planet.
Implode it, we're done. Like, I knew
implode.
I knew I had a point. But I was, what? So that kind of brings the whole money thing back. Like, money is always going to be part of the universe. It always is. Yeah. And this guy owning a planet that he's like, you can't get rid of my planet. Yeah. We just had the floors done. Like, I feel like that'd be you, actually. I'd be like, fuck it, go for it. I don't care.
Like, dude, I just remodeled the kitchen. What the fuck?
But it almost, like, reminded me of the Wongs in Futurama.
Oh,
like, they own half of Mars or something.
Yeah, they have their ranch.
Yeah.
They own a lot of property. Amy's family is really rich in that show.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. Is like, I want to say they owned half of Mars. Like, it was a ridiculous amount. Because they had their little ranch. But, so that's kind of what that reminded me of. But I liked it. It was great. Then, of course, like, once we got to I did like the Parasite. Like, I loved Boimler, and I loved his relationship with Barbara, and I loved Mariner trying to sabotage everything. I didn't like the Parasite.
I didn't like that,
and it was a parasite that, like, made him more attractive or something.
Which, if this was his girlfriend, like, for a long time, that means that parasite had to be there for a long time. And I feel like just the episodes that, like, we've seen, I mean, he's taken showers, he's been scratching his head. I feel like this parasite would have, like, it would have shown up a lot sooner than this episode. Not to mention the way Mariner is like, oh, is this happening or that? Like, why wasn't Mariner attracted to it?
Exactly. Like, I was 100% in this episode, and then once they brought the parasite out, I was like, and then I started to tank.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, really good up until that point.
Yeah, so it was one of those, like I said, I didn't really like that.
If they had redone, like, do this whole episode again, and literally everybody on the ship is attracted to Boimler.
Right,
I would fucking love that episode. Like, everybody. The captain, Commander Ransom, like, literally every single person just wants to bang Boimler. And he's like, what is happening right now? I would 110% be for that episode. And then you're like, there's a fucking parasite? That's it? And then everybody's like, who are you?
Yeah, and then that's the thing, too, like, is like, boom, she's like, you think I was really attracted to you because of your hormones? Like, whatever. And he's like, oh, so you do love me. Yeah, about that. My job's more important.
Mm-hmm. God, now I wish they'd written an episode like that. But, I don't know, I loved it. I thought it was a great episode. Up until the ending with the parasite. But everything else up to it, I really liked this episode.
Well, I'm curious if there's going to be a future episode because she takes the creature and she's like, I need to go study this. Goodbye.
Probably not.
And so, I don't know, well, depending on if it gets canceled or not. But I don't know why, like, just the way they did, I feel like, I wonder if there's going to be a future episode.
Yeah, I don't know. As much as I would love for there to be, this type of series, like, I feel like if there are, let's say it does keep going, we know there's going to be 2 seasons, 100%. There's 2 seasons.
Okay.
If it does keep going, there might be references to previous episodes, but typically for TV shows like this, like, those first few episodes, they don't really reference them a lot.
Gotcha.
Like, we'll probably never see, like, the spider people again. Don't spoil the milk.
Yeah.
Like, we'll probably never see them again.
Or if we do, it'll be like way later. No. Yeah.
If anything, like, I'm more interested in the storylines. Like, are we going to see Mariner and Commander Ransom hook up?
Yeah.
Because there was the sexual tension in one episode type thing. But overall, I loved it. I love this series. I think it's really well
definitely.
done.
I mean, the episodes, like, I mean, I love watching them, so I mean, they're worth definitely taking a peek at. But
what I think is funny is they'll make a joke. It's almost like Family Guy, and I've talked about this before. Like Family Guy, they'll make like a joke to some obscure movie from the 30s that, like, Seth MacFarlane is a nerd and I'm a nerd, so he and I kind of both get it, especially like musicals, like Singing in the Rain and stuff like that. And he'll make this obscure reference, and I'll think it's funny, but you'll laugh based off of the delivery.
Right.
Like the episode that stands to mind is like Stewie and his girlfriend, and he's like, the knife took the life of the wife.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a reference to something. It's the rain comes down, the rain falls mainly in the plains. And it's like, okay, like, it's literally a musical joke. And it's like, I get it because I know the movie that they're talking about. It's Audrey Hepburn and stuff like that. You think it's funny because of the way they do it.
Correct, yeah, it's Stewie
and so this show is a good example of that, where they're making references to Star Trek, and I'm like, that's amazing. Like, that is really funny that the way they did that, but you think it's funny just because, like, it's humorous.
Right, it fits into that scene.
Yeah,
so.
And so I think that's what I really like about the show, is it's a good balance for the two.
Yeah, I would say that.
So overall, I liked it. Like, are you 5 episodes in? You're still digging it?
Yeah, so far so good.
Okay. Like, you're not like me. You're like, where's Thursday? I need this new episode.
Oh yeah, no,
but
I'm like, shit, Thursday's this many days away? Fuck.
Well, I mean, it's hard for me. Like, we've already done this 5 times.
Oh dear God, 5 times.
Like, that's how long this has been going on. So, I'm liking it. You seem to be enjoying it. Any closing thoughts?
No closing thoughts.
No. Okay. Thank you for joining Tim's closing thoughts. So for those who have seen it, like I said, a lot of references. Go Vancouver, all the references, because nobody gives a fuck about Vancouver. It's all Portland. So for those who have seen it, what did you think? What did you think about the references? Like the scene where she actually has like the board behind her.
Oh,
I didn't even talk about that because, like, you see the vampire from the original series. There's just nothing but references that somebody else can go into that one. So what did you think about it? Go ahead, let us know. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you give this show a shot, because let me tell you, if you look at like Star Trek on Facebook, people are just like, no, it looks dumb, and they just dismiss it.
No.
Watch the show. It's worth watching. So thank you guys, and we will see you guys next week.